Hey guys, welcome back to another Flesh and Blood video. This video is brought to you by the team House of Cards. Be sure to check out our link in the description below for all of your Flesh and Blood needs. Guys, it is the Wednesday before Road to National season starts in the US, and I have to tell you, one, I'm very excited. I love competitive seasons, and I always love playing against some of the best players in the world to really test myself. I sat down with the team, and I got some of their thoughts and asked them some questions about how they felt about moving into the RTN season and how they're preparing. So let's see what they had to say. All right, Zach. So RTN season's right around the corner, and there'll probably be a lot of random people playing their favorite heroes. But you had to pick 2 or 3 heroes. What are the ones that you're testing into the most?
I think the most practice most people should have into certain heroes would be Oldhim and probably Lexi. That's going to be the two best decks in the format. I think you'll see a lot of Dromai as well. They always like to show out in numbers.
All right, Nathaniel. So Road to National season's right around the corner. What heroes are you testing into the most to prepare for RTN season?
I would say Oldhim and Lexi. I played Lexi at the Calling in Baltimore as well as Pro Tour in Baltimore, and just kind of been practicing with the Lexi deck mostly. And the mirror matches and the Oldhim matchup are probably the two most important. Maybe Dromai if it were a bigger event, but most RTNs don't hold too many Dromais. Usually just your local who likes Dromai is on the Dromai. But definitely Oldhim and Lexi.
All right, Silas. So we're preparing for RTN season. What heroes are you looking to test into the most to be ready to play against?
Oh, well, I'm going to try to play Azalea for RTN season, so I'm testing into Dromai, Lexi, and Oldhim. Those were the 3 most represented decks at the PT, and I think they'll continue to be strongly supported.
All right, Nathan. So going into RTN season, what heroes are you looking to test into the most to make sure that you're prepared?
Yeah, so right now the main heroes testing into would be Lexi. She seems to be pretty hot, pretty popular. Oldhim obviously is going to be big, as always, and then Dromai always going to be represented pretty heavily just based on, I think, popularity overall with that playstyle.
So Alexander, coming into Road to National season, what heroes are you looking to test into the most to make sure that you're prepared?
Yeah, so we're mostly testing into the top 2 heroes, which is Lexi and Oldhim. Coming off the back of Lexi's crazy performance of being 50% of every top cut, and it goes down to it was 50% of the top 16s, and it was 50% of the top 64s and 32s. So with that kind of crazy performance, we're putting a lot of time into that deck. And we're also testing into Oldhim, obviously off the back of its win, and Matt Rogers also top-8'd on a quite impressive list. So in general, those 2 heroes. On the side of that, we're making sure we have games into like Assassin and Icelander so that we don't lose games to those heroes off of not knowing their strategies.
So going into RTN season, I've been testing into Lexi, Oldhim, Dromai, and Dash recently. Dash is always a classic favorite that people like to pick up on. Lexi's probably the best aggro deck in the format right now. Oldhim is Oldhim. I mean, there's nothing really else to say about that. And people love Dromai because it's really great. So those are definitely the decks I'm testing into the most for Road to National season. All right, Zach. So RTN season's about a week away. What heroes are you most likely to show up to an RTN with this season?
I think I've narrowed it down to 2. I will either play Lexi or Briar. Briar just keeps lingering in my mind because it's probably going to be the last season anybody will get to play her. But Lexi is what a lot of people think is the best deck in the format right now and is very powerful with all the new cards from Outsiders.
So, Nathaniel, moving into RTN season, what heroes are you most looking at to play?
Definitely Lexi. Like I already said, the Lexi is what I played in the last 2 big tournaments. Also Oldhim. I've kind of got the cards together and ready. There's a chance that I would maybe take that as well. If I were to already top 4 in RTN, I would go with a choice that I would have the most fun with. maybe something a little crazy, but Oldhim and Lexi. I don't have enough reps on Dromai to even consider, but if I were to take an aggro deck, I would probably, besides Lexi, I would probably choose Dash.
So Silas, RTN season's right around the corner. You know, if you had to nail down 2 or 3 heroes that you're really considering for the upcoming season, what would those be?
The top two I was really looking at was Briar and Azalea. I think Briar has strong matchups in terms of aggro into most of the field, really good into Dromai, okay into Lexi, okay into Oldhim, and then Azalea can really really can slow down Lexi. Problem is she struggles into Dromai. So those are the two I'm looking at, and I think I'm going to narrow it down to Azalea.
So Nathan, looking at RTN season, what heroes are you most likely to bring to a pretty open field?
Yeah, pretty open field. Like bringing Oldham. That's been my deck for a year and a half. Like I think everyone knows that by now. that plays in our area. It's just so good. And if I was gonna play Ranger, I'd have to steal back my cards from the other metamates that are borrowing stuff. So we're just gonna let them play that, and I'll play Oldham.
So Alexander, looking at Road to National season, what heroes are you most likely to play?
So for qualifying, initially, I'm going to be taking Lexi. If the meta shifts too much and it feels like Lexi may not be the best pick, Oldham will probably be my next pick. If I qualify early, though, I'll be taking Yuzuri to all the future RTNs because it's a really fun deck and I think it's pretty solid.
The deck that I've been testing the most is by far Oldhim. I've really enjoyed playing Oldhim as of late. I've been on a fatigue plan, Matt Rogers style list with a couple of tweaks here and there, but it's been a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed learning Oldhim and picking up the tips and tricks for fatiguing people. So Zach, we're just coming off the back of Pro Tour Baltimore. You know, there was, quite a bit of news that came out of that. How do you think that's going to affect Road to National season?
Everybody kind of landed on Lexi as being the best deck in the format right now. Oldhim winning, I think, will get a lot of people to go back to Oldhim. But I think though there was always going to be those Guardians there. I think that you'll see a lot more Lexi and people trying Lexi that would have otherwise been on other aggro-ish heroes.
So Nathaniel, we just came out of Pro Tour Baltimore and we saw a lot of big results and a lot of big decks. You know, how do you think Baltimore is going to affect Road to Nats season?
I definitely think the lists will be different. Not to give anybody specific ideas as to how they should play Oldhim, but they may use some of the lists that came from those two tournaments and play a little bit different style of Oldhim than maybe even Michael Fang was playing, and then probably change up their Lexi lists to be better in the mirror, throwing in some ice if they were on fuse lists, and maybe adding in some more tech cards to like kind of condense those matchups to not have to play into the field so much, especially with knowing your meta.
So Silas, we just came off the back of Pro Tour Baltimore. How big of an effect do you think that's going to have moving into Road to National season?
I think like any tournament, it'll be huge into what people play. I think Lexi is going to be the most representative. Oldhim and Dromai, same as the PT. I know a lot of people like to just play their favorite hero and don't really care. So it'll be interesting to see, but I think those three will still be the top three represented decks this season.
So Nathan, just a few weeks ago, we saw the results of PT Baltimore. Looking at that, how do you feel like that's going to affect Road to National season?
PT Baltimore, we kind of our testing. We knew those 3-4 heroes, Lexi, Oldhim, Dromai, were going to be real popular, and that's what happened. I don't know that it's really going to change a lot. Maybe see some heroes, Dark Horse, that have a good game into both of those. Possibly Rhinar or Dash may make a splash, but especially based on not only Baltimore but the calling that happened right after it, where Dash won. You could maybe see an uptick in her, but.
All right, so Alexander, we just come off the back of PT Baltimore. How do you feel like PT Baltimore is going to shake up a Road to National season?
So it really solidified a lot of the thoughts we had going into the PT about the meta. And honestly, our team and a lot of other teams pretty much had the meta pegged. But one thing that was very interesting was there were a few Oldhim lists in particular that were pretty interesting. Namely, Matt Rogers' list was a lot better into Lexi than we previously thought Oldhim could be. And so that has made it tougher to play the Lexi deck. Not it's definitely not. I think Lexi's still the best deck, but it has changed things because it makes it not just a shoe-in for every matchup. But in general, I also believe that Dash having yet another big win is going to spike its popularity a little bit and make all the people who play that deck either solidify in their thoughts on the deck or go back to it since they pivoted away from it and make them play it more. And so we'll all have to be scared of getting Magnetic Shockwave.
Baltimore was a lot of fun, and there was a lot of takeaways from that. Lexi's by far the best aggro deck in the format. Viserai did top 8 the calling, which I think is pretty interesting. Oldhim won the PT, and Dromai was the other very popular deck. These were all things that the team predicted going into Baltimore, so I wasn't really surprised by any of them. But I am excited to see how this affects RTN season. And honestly, I don't think you'll see a lot of changes. Lexi, Dromai, and Oldhim will probably be the most popular decks, and then there'll always be people playing their favorite decks. So, Zach, through Flesh and Blood's history, we've only had 3 heroes actually achieve living legend status. The next 2 up on the docket, or the ones that are the closest at least, are Briar, which is 36 points away, and Oldhim, which is 112 points away. Do you think either of those have the capability or will cross that living legend status during RTN season?
I think it's pretty safe to say that this will be the last season we'll see with Briar and Rosetta Thorn. I think that's what most everybody's excited to see go. Oldhim, it will be very close. 2 points per RTN win. I mean, it's not too many. So it could be the very, very last season with both heroes, which whatever side, those are 2 polarizing sides to each hero. So you either love them or hate them.
So, Nathaniel, across Flesh and Blood's history, we've only seen 3 heroes actually hit living legend status. Coming into Road to National season, Briar and Oldhim do have the opportunity to accomplish that. Briar only needs 36 points, and Oldhim needs 112. Do you think it's possible for either or both of those heroes to achieve this status?
I do believe there'll be a lot of people on Briar just trying to get her out. And with that, usually you get a few wins. And I'd say that Briar can definitely win some tournaments and LL. I kind of expect her to LL throughout the season. As far as Oldhim goes, 112 seems like a lot. I feel like you have to be a really good Oldhim to win these tournaments, especially in a field of Lexies. So I have a feeling it'll be maybe around that 950 era, but I don't think it'll LL.
So, Silas, so far we've only had 3 heroes cross into Living Legend. There are 2 heroes coming up on that, though, and that's Oldhim and Briar. Briar's currently 36 points away from Living Legend, and Oldhim is 112 away. Do you think either of those heroes will cross into Living Legend status and during Road to National season?
I think Briar will. I mean, she's so close, and she only has to win such a small amount of RTNs. And considering a lot of locals, some people really like that aggro Briar style, and she can do some crazy things. So I think she will. Oldhim, I think he'll win a lot, but I still don't think he'll get to that living legend status until the Nats.
So, Nathan, over Flesh and Blood's tenure, just in the few years it's been around, we've only actually seen 3 heroes hit living legend status. Looking to Road to National season, there's really only 2 heroes that could arguably make that jump. The first one is Briar that needs 36 points, and the second one is Oldhim that needs 112 points. Do you think that either or both of those heroes could cross that threshold this season?
If they're only getting 2 points per RTN win, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
I think if the only one that might cross it would be Oldhim. I don't think Briar has any play in this current meta, to be honest. She's just too weak against too many styles that are running right now. But Oldhim being so far away, over 100 points, I don't know if he can make that in one season. I think it'll take him till the next big event before he crosses it.
So, Alexander, across Flesh and Blood's, 3-year history, we look at the game and there's only been 3 heroes to actually achieve Living Legend status. Moving into Road to National season, there are 2 heroes that could potentially do that. Briar is 36 points away and Oldhim is 112 points away. Do you think that either or both of these heroes could cross that threshold this season?
So considering the fact that there's over 400 RTNs across the world, and both Briar and Oldhim are actually in pretty decent spots, especially Oldhim. The stats are pretty much in both of those heroes' favor. Less so for Oldhim because he has a lot more ground to cross, but in my opinion, he also is going to be better at crossing the ground. If either of them don't rotate, I think they'll both be very, very close. But I could definitely see them both rotating.
All right, guys. Well, there you have it. There's some insight into what the team's testing into, what they're looking to play, how they think Baltimore is going to change Road to National season, and if we think Briar and Oldham will finally hit LL. There were some differences in opinion. There was some things that we definitely agreed on there. I always like to get the team's whole opinion so that we can kind of see who thought what and how they might disagree. Because although we test together and we're always trying to help each other out, sometimes we have differences of opinion. So this was definitely a little insight here as to what the House of Cards is looking like going into Road to National season. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy, guys.